Hello, everybody. This is Nick Terrell, Professor of Information Technologies and Computer Science, Lakeland Community College. Let's take a simple look at what Burp Suite can potentially do. Let's just start very, very simple and we'll work from there. So let's go to my screen and then we'll work some things. In previous videos, we talked about the installation. We talked about how Burp Suite is treated as a proxy, about pages going in, pages coming out. Let's just kind of take a look at things and where we can garner information. So let me go to my screen. And here up on my screen, I have the Burp Suite running. Important right now is I have intercept turned off. Now, what intercept is, we talk about it in other videos, intercept stops the traffic between the browser and the web server. So when I type something at the browser, Burp Suite will stop it from going to the web server, allow me to do something, and then I can forward it on. Remember, this is not some kind of hacking situation. This is me testing. This is me looking for bugs. So there are times where we want to stop the communication between the browser, the user agent, and the server. In this video, we're not concerned with that. We just want to see the interaction between the browser and the web server. So we're going to say intercept off. I'm going to bring up my browser. All right. And here I'm going to go to that web server. We're going to keep things really, really simple here. Not going to look at any of the potential hacks involved with here. Just, I want to look at the interaction between the browser, the user agent, and the server. So I'm going to log in here. You will notice up here real quickly, this is using HTTP, so there won't be any encryption in here. And the credentials to log into this are right here. Remember, BWAP is just a testing environment. It's a practice environment. It's a learning environment. You will notice that it said the security level was low. And here we are. We're at the portal. Let's take a look at what Burp Suite has for us. Well, because it was an intercepting, remember intercepting is it would be catching any traffic from the browser to the server. Since we turned that off, there's nothing there. But I'm going to go to HTTP history. What was the traffic going between the two? So it wasn't stopping anything. It was just letting it go between the two just fine. And here we get into gets and posts and things like that. In HTML, get means get information from the server, pull it down. Post means post stuff up to the server. You can see that I wish my screen was just a little bit bigger here. We have PHP, the PHP programming language for login script. We have some fonts. We have some HTML code. Let's take a look at this status code. What are status codes? Again, I don't have a lot of background with web development and web servers, but I think most of us have seen some of these status codes when we're dealing with the internet. So let me bring up another page. Let me get it over here. Hold on one second. And there's a whole series. The ones that we tend to look at are the 200s and the 400s. The 200 status code of 200 means everything's working fine. Standard response for a HTTP request, 200 is just fine. Some other ones here, no content. The ones that people get a little, interested about is like the 400 or the 401, where we try to go to a web page and maybe that web page isn't there anymore, or we're trying to do something so it kicks back and says, error code 400. But these are just standard HTML status codes. Again, I'm not an HTML expert, but there are things that if I was to do any kind of pen testing or bug bounty associated with web server, I need to learn these. I would need to learn all these. I need to learn all the HTML code that's associated with it. So let's take a look at, let's start simple, and let's take a look at the very, very first request. I clicked on it, and here is the particular request. What information can we garner from this particular situation? Well, it's the host that we're going to is 10.0.1.9. We know that. The user agent or the browser that the client is using is the Mozilla 5.0. Let's say there were known bugs with 5.0. We would have to be aware of that, but this is more on the browser side. This request is more on the browser side, but it's given us pertinent information. What about the response? Remember, we're testing the server, not really testing the browser, we're testing the server. So the server responded with a HTTP 302 found code. Well, I don't know what 302 is. Let's see what 302 is. 302 is found, previously moved, tells the client to look at a browser, another URL. Maybe it moved around. I've been doing a lot of stuff with this. So it probably found it before and then maybe it moved or whatever, but it's a code. I'm not an HTML expert. What are some of the other things of importance? Well, it says this server was built, or this response occurred April 1st, 2004 at 9 GMT time. The server is an Ubuntu server. It is running Apache 2.4.7. That's information that might be pertinent. What if it was a weaker Apache? Maybe there was a vulnerability associated with that Apache number. The Ubuntu that it is, or the PHP that it is running is 5.5.9 Ubuntu. Again, this is just finding and collecting information that we could potentially use, right? And if there's vulnerabilities in that web page, say, for example, it's not the case, the Apache that is running has some known vulnerabilities, we would let our development team know about that. And then all this other pertinent information. Let's take a look at a post. Right? These were all get information. Now we're posting information, or we're sending information back to that web server. A little bit different. Don't panic and don't say this is a security issue. Remember, we're dealing with HTTP anyways, but look down here. There is the username and there's the password. Username B, password bug. Priority security level 0. Now, maybe I can use this particular tool to start trying to guess legitimate usernames or illegitimate usernames or whatever. So this might be an avenue that I take. But what's more important in all of this is showing you the communication between the browser, the user agent, and the server. Right? And it's allowing all that traffic to go through. In other videos, we may want to intercept and make changes to it. But another thing we can do is we can say, this is interesting. Can I just repeat this information? I don't want to just retype it. Can I sit there and repeat it? Maybe I want to feed it a string or a string of things. So if I look at this code, after we posted it, let's see what came back. After it was posted with the name, here's all the information that we talked about before. Here's the HTML code that was sent back to us. I have told students this for years. When you surf the internet, those entire HTML pages come down to your machine and then get implemented by your browser. We talk about that a lot in the computer forensics class. So this is the HTML code that was brought down to the browser. And if I scroll around with it, let's see if I can find it. Oh, extremely buggy, change password, create a user. Where is it? Somewhere in here is the username and the welcome. Oh, here it is, right here. Welcome B, right? So this was acknowledging back. This was reflected back to me. So I'm looking right here. Again, I wish my screen was just a little bit bigger here. So couple things here. Very short video in this regard. Burp Suite is basically allowing this traffic to go back and forth. It's monitoring the traffic. It's keeping the traffic. Here's the history of the traffic. I can begin to start looking at it. I can get information off it. If you take the ethical hacking course, gathering information and then doing additional research is key to ethical hacking. So if I was to discover if there was weaknesses with the current Apache version, the current operating system version, current SQL version, any of that stuff that could potentially be exploited, I could potentially gather this information here. So it tends to be a little bit passive. This is a very passive approach. But again, it's allowing the traffic to go through. I can take, let's make a quick change. Let's do something real quick here. Let me go back to the post. And in the post, I'm going to make a slight change here. In the post, I'm going to change the name. We're going to have to repeat, sorry. So I do a right click and I'm going to say send a repeater. And what this did is it took this request and it sent it to another area of Burp Suite. And it's under the repeater. And in the repeater, so copy that request and it put it to the repeater. Now I can make changes here. And if I say send away, it didn't really affect the web page. Let me make that clear. It did, but it didn't. You're not going to see it on the web page. But what's more important is over here in this area. Let's see if it sent anything. Method, password recovery, name, security level. It's always tough trying to find this stuff. This is the exciting part about ethical hacking or pen testing. It's somewhere in there, there's probably my name or there's some kind of complaint that we don't know who this user is. So we often use repeater very often in Burp Suite, to do something to craft a request, craft it in the way that we wanted, and then send it off to the web server. And you'll see that in other videos. So let me wrap things up here. This was just an intro video to how Burp Suite interacts with the client and the server. We have a lot of general areas, but two general areas. We do have the repeater in which I can take a request, change it, and then repeat it. And then we also, it wasn't explained in this video, but we have something called the intercept. The intercept stops the traffic from the browser to the server, and then we forward it on. And again, we can make changes accordingly. So repeater, we have something that was successful or unsuccessful, and we resend it. Intercept, we stop it, and then we go forward. Again, we didn't talk about intercept in this video. So that being said, let's go out and learn something.